Hi, Elle. It's good to see you here. Amazing music you just played. So, can you introduce yourselves
Yep.
for the crowds?
I'm Evan Morgan. I play guitar primarily, but I also play banjo and pump organ.
I'm Courtney Werner. I play fiddle.
I'm Michael DeVito. I play bass and banjo.
Sweet. And all together you are?
Magic Tuber Stringband.
Okay. Sweet. Thanks for coming on to WXDU for a little music and chat. First thing, if you were a kitchen utensil, what would you be? I'm a teacher, so I have to do a dorky icebreaker, even though the ice is already broken.
I don't know if it is.
Well, it's going to be now.
It's re-solidified.
I like those things that cut the apples. You know, you just push it down.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that a
Oh, yeah.
utensil? What's the definition? Is it any?
It's a tool in the
guillotine.
kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
It's not a guillotine. It's got a French name. I don't know.
Or the thing that scoops the watermelon, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Of very
pretty good, too.
specific fruit devices.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
I would be a soup ladle.
A soup ladle. Nice. Okay.
Maybe a food processor.
Industrial. I like it. Yeah.
Well, because you can also do like the dough hook thing. I like the dough hook.
You're a dough man.
attachment.
I see.
Yeah, just like we don't have. I guess really a KitchenAid is what I'm thinking of.
Mhm.
But I think I've made dough, and there's food processors that have the dough hook, but we're
Right.
currently without one, and so I have to knead by hand. And I guess it's really just what I want.
You don't want to be kneading by hand.
I know. Well, I mean, kneading by hand's fine, but it's just like a lot easier.
Yeah,
And
okay.
you get the dough is like a better consistency.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's what I want, not necessarily what I am, but that is kind of, I guess we're always aspiring to be
What we
what
want.
we want.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I would be a zester.
Okay.
Just a little spice. Okay. Thank you for that. So I want to just start with asking you about your individual histories with music. So just like how you got into playing music, from as young as you want to go, and then after y'all share, we can talk about how you came to be this group
Yeah.
historically. Yeah.
We're going to go down the line.
Sure.
Okay. I started playing guitar. I wanted to play guitar like from when I can remember. So I started playing really early. I took lessons for a couple years, like starting, like I learned like classical for a year and like basically just learned how to read music because I was like 5.
Mhm.
And then I kind of stopped taking lessons and just kind of self-taught and went through like a lot of different phases in music that I was listening to. So I would kind of just like learn the styles that I was listening to. So I kind of, ran the gamut from like Green Day to like prog rock. And then at some point in high school, I started playing. I had a friend I'm from Houston. I had a friend in Houston that was a little older than me named Will Chorba, who I met at a friend's house, and he played this style that was acoustic guitar based and totally open tuned, and really fit well for like a solo style. And that was kind of my first introduction to like what the John Fahey kind of style. And so I got kind of taken by that. And originally I would mess around with open tunings on electric guitar because I was primarily playing electric guitar at that point.
Okay.
And I also was really into like Pavement, and Pavement uses a lot of open tuning. So I was just kind of messing around with writing songs with open tunings, instrumental and like, songs with lyrics. And then when I got to college, I think that's when I really started to just play acoustic because it became kind of impractical to try to play electric. And I was playing a lot of music just by myself. So that's kind of when I really leaned into the kind of open tuned acoustic thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Will's also how I got into traditional music. So he was definitely like one of the most influential people
That's
that I
awesome.
know personally from
Yeah.
me from like my.
And you met him in high school.
Yeah.
It's good timing.
Yeah.
When you're the most like impressionable.
Yeah, and he put out like he did have a tape label. He put out our first tape, Wayward Airs for Earthbound Vagrant. So he was also really important in like,
Oh, sweet.
just helping us get our feet off the ground.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. All right, Courtney.
Yeah. I started also when I was 5, but
Dang.
I was in classical violin. I did like the Suzuki stuff.
Mm.
Which wasn't really my choice. And by the time I was 18 and going to college, I was pretty done with it. There were some moments playing in orchestras, playing certain pieces, where I got really into orchestra, classical music. But for the most part, when I went to college, I was kind of done with it. I thought it was stuffy and just too much and not what I wanted to do. And I didn't even bring my violin
Oh, really?
to college. And then but then I got into the coffee house here and ended up my friend Juan was playing with Evan in this like college noise band.
Wait, what was the name of that?
Jimmy Carter and the Contraception
Yes,
Kids.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
All right. So that's your
I
biggest
have to bring it up. It's
inspiration.
the origin story. Well, then, so Juan had an electric violin, and they were like, "Here, take this and play with us." And so then I was just screeching on it, and it was, just classic liberation from the shackles of my my upbringing, musical
stuffy
upbringing.
violin
Yeah.
upbringing.
So then I just started playing more for fun with everyone, and then Evan was getting into the John Fahey, Jack Rose, and also into old time, and I started delving a little bit more into fiddle style, and then got hooked on it. And so yeah, that's kind of how I started.
Sweet, amazing. Thanks.
I started in the orchestra like in middle school playing upright bass, but I wouldn't say I got really into music until I got an electric bass in high school. And that was all like funk, soul, kind of your typical like proggy electric bass stuff. And then I studied music in college, but it was like a pretty square classical program. And coming out of that, I was pretty interested in, I guess, more like out music. So,
but you're studying music on bass.
it was like a
through
composition,
most of it, right?
It was a composition program. So I put the upright down when I was like 13 or something. And then after I graduated, I got very into the same kind of like John Fahey school of open tuned guitar, and then that dovetails into both old time type stuff and other more experimental stuff. So in the years after undergrad, it was mostly just acoustic traditional music, and then just 2 years ago I went to jazz school and picked the upright bass back up, and so it's been tons of upright bass since then. And so that's kind of how it all came back around to playing out folk music on the upright bass.
Sweet, awesome. So, thank you for sharing all that. How did MTSB? I don't know.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. How did y'all come to be playing together? So I know y'all started playing together in college, and I imagine all three of you were playing together a little bit in college.
I don't know if we played together much.
No, yeah.
But you were known to each other, right?
We knew each other, but we only overlapped for a year, so
That's right, yeah.
But yeah, we didn't really start. Mike and I had kept in touch, but Mike was living in California.
That's right.
I think that was when we started playing music together. Mike was probably in California, and it wasn't until Mike moved back here for school that we started playing. And I think originally just kind of like, loosely, not necessarily
a formal position.
Yeah.
Well, it was just like I remember playing tunes like when I would visit during the summer and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's I feel like we were doing that mostly.
You were sowing the seeds. So, wow. That was an awkward comment, apparently.
Like old time tunes, I mean. Yeah.
Okay, so but how did the two of y'all, like, when was the moment where you were like, okay, now we have to form a band named around this?
I guess we were working out a lot of versions of just classic traditional songs. Like we were playing Mole in the Ground together. We were playing Cumberland Gap. Evan was writing a lot of solo guitar pieces, and I was kind of messing around with fiddle parts for those. And then eventually we just decided, it was like 2018. Will had started the tape label and was really encouraging about putting something out, so we just recorded everything. It was really fun and like raw, naive ideas. It was kind of a rough little tape, but yeah, we put it out on Bluehole, and then kind of just took off from there. Started playing some shows in the area, and yeah, went on. Evan got invited to go on tour with Conrado Isasa, who was coming over from Madrid, and so then we went on tour with him all through the East Coast in 2019. And
one of which was at my house.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask, how did the name come to be?
You know, people ask this, and I honestly don't really remember. I remember pieces of why we were putting certain words together. Like, we were really into Harry Smith at the time.
Okay.
Especially his animation, Heaven and Earth Magic.
Okay.
We actually watched that, I think, while we were recording the first record. And so that's kind of where magic came from. It's also like there's some traditional string bands that have magic in the name. And
yeah, Dyke's Magic City Trio.
Yeah. Tuber, I think we just...
It was like a image that we really liked. Well, it appears like in the beginning, like towards the beginning of T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland, and I don't really remember the context, but I think we really liked I really liked the way that image was kind of used, and
my memory of it is finding an actual object that we keep in a jar and can really only be described as a tuber, but
I love that. I mean, I feel like more fantasy, treatments of magical roots should be a thing. Yeah, that's dope. Okay. So one question I have for you, when I was talking to Mike the other day, I was like, hey, so like what kind of a band is this band, to prime me for what questions I should write? And he said the words experimental and folk music. And I was like, okay, I understand what both of those things are, sort of, in their own camps. First of all, I know genre definition can be crummy and not really that useful, but what in your work, how are you manifesting both of those things, and do you feel like you're balancing them at all in any just dynamic way, or what do those labels mean to you? I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're interested in the elements that kind of run throughout traditional songs that are played in the styles that come from, like, Mount Airy or just the Appalachian region in general. And then like Piedmont blues guitar. Like, we're interested in we started off kind of making our own versions of those songs, but then also paying attention to the individual elements and kind of breaking those down. And like, there's a lot of repeating phrases. There's a lot of chords that will sometimes have weird out notes in them.
Yeah.
And then once you start thinking in that territory, we start drawing links to minimalism and drone. And, we're very influenced by people like Pell and the Black Twig Pickers. And so we're not the first to do this by any means. But so I think playing with those elements, and then also thinking about some of the sounds that you hear on the landscape beyond just the traditional music, so like natural sounds and noise, and trying to kind of translate those into sounds we can push our instruments to make, and instruments that are kind of traditional to the region but then can be pushed to make weird sounds. And then bringing all that together is sort of this type of stuff that we like to play with.
Yeah. I liked reading your bio somewhere. I forget where I saw it, but just how much nature was emphasized, and like your summary of your approach to music. And I was curious I'm curious generally about your writing process, but as far as how nature relates to your writing process, do you do any writing or like field recording in nature? And like how explicit a part of your writing is natural sounds or experiences?
This is probably another Courtney question.
Yeah, I mean,
leave it to the ecologist. Yeah.
Yeah, I take field recordings. They don't always. Sometimes they appear on the record. I wouldn't say we're like sound artists per se, but a lot of times I'll take field recordings and we'll listen to them and kind of pay attention to the sounds you hear in them, whether those are made by animals that we recorded or just like a stream or industrial sounds like in the areas we're living, and try to translate those into little phrases that appear in our music. And so I think it's more on an abstraction level, but yeah, I think sitting and listening to the soundscape of where we're situated when we're writing songs is a big source of inspiration.
Rad. So, but it's not like you bring your guitars and fiddle out into the woods and you're like, okay, we're gonna do this.
Courtney has.
I have done that. Yeah. Yeah.
Like very intentionally with another project.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
You could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. When I was living in the Ozarks, I met up with Chaz Knapp, who makes really cool, very place-based experimental music out there, and we were going out to different areas in the Ozarks and improvising with the natural sounds, and like very intentionally. And there's a tape on Scissortail that came out last year.
Awesome.
That, so.
Yeah, and I mean we do a little bit of that. We have a tape that will eventually come out on Notice Recordings with our friends in Weirs, which is another local kind of experimental traditional band, but in a very different direction than us. They're very kind of ballad based, whereas we're more tune based. We toured with them in 2022, and we went to an old Civil War era tunnel in Crozet, Virginia, a railroad tunnel that's defunct now. The line is defunct, and we went into the middle of the tunnel. It's like 3/4 of a mile long, so the reverb is really, really wild. And we recorded in there, and we're just, I don't know if the name will change, but right now it's just called the Tunnel Tape. But okay. But we have we do some stuff like that. Cool. And I think we'll always try to do stuff like that, and are always interested in doing that kind of place-based recording.
Yeah.
But I think place both literally has plays an important role in where we're recording, but also kind of what we're thinking about. I mean, those things are kind of entangled, and there's no way to really untangle them. But I think both conceptually and kind of practically, place always plays a really important role in what we've done. Especially the past couple records, I think.
Cool. So speaking of record, last thing, so Tunnel Tape is not out yet.
Tunnel Tape will hopefully be out this year, ideally. We have everything more or less ready. And that's Notice Recordings, which is run by Evan Lindorf Ellerly. It's a really, really cool tape label based out of Kingston, New York.
Okay, awesome. But speaking of records, the record you just released yesterday, is that right?
Yeah, came out yesterday.
Needlefall?
Yep.
Okay, so a lot of the songs we heard today were from that record. You mentioning place playing an important role. Is there a particular place or series of places that goes into Needlefall?
Yeah, we were in lots of places while we were writing the songs, but honestly, I feel like the most notable thing to talk about with Needlefall is just how we brought in so many other musicians from the Durham area, and we recorded it here in Durham at Justin Morse and Ollie's little music shed that they have on their property. And yeah, we brought in Crow Meat Bob, who's playing clarinet on Needlefall and on The Long Suffering, and on the last track, Piney Woods Burn. And then we also have
one of our resident DJs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wasn't sure if he was still DJing here, but
I don't know if he's actively.
He was a long time.
He's been doing it for a while. Yeah. Okay.
Then Dan Partridge was there on Singing Saw, which we read recently that someone reviewed the record and thought it was a theremin, which is just funny.
I could see some.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the same
similarities.
Sound, but I mean, I think it's a compliment for Dan's ability.
Yeah, definitely.
The best saw player I know for sure.
Yeah. And then Andy McLeod came down from, I guess he was living in Pennsylvania at the time. Yeah. And so the three of them with the three of us recorded in all one session. And so it really was incredible to bring in so many Raleigh-Durham legends. Yeah. It felt like to join us, and it was a really, really fulfilling recording session.
Sweet. And were all of those just like live simultaneous recordings, or was there any
it was
overdubs?
mostly single take. There was a little bit of like on a couple tracks there was some overdubbing, but we went into the studio wanting to, because in the past we've done a lot of overdubbing because it's just been us two. We were like, this is going to be a big band record, and we're going to try to limit it to mostly just one take. Or not one take, but live take. Yeah.
No. They did it all in one take. They're perfect, and they never make mistakes. How long of a process was it at the music shed?
It was just a weekend basically.
Yeah. Nice.
We had some like demo recordings that we sent out. We made a Google Doc, very nerdy, but it's a good process. Because Courtney was living, as she said, in Arkansas for a minute, and then she was in Georgia, and I was here the whole time. So we were kind of, not really in the same place. So it was only that one weekend when everyone came together.
Yeah,
everyone was there and firing on all cylinders. But like we kind of organized it all totally remotely.
It's an impressive logistical thing to get going.
Yeah.
So was a lot of that, obviously you had written pieces, but bringing in three other people, was a lot of it improvised, and that was the intention?
Yeah, we had some things that were composed and pretty well developed, which like most of the duo or trio tracks were like that. But then there were some improvs where we would just have sort of a prompt and some links to some influences.
Okay.
And we would just kind of talk about it and listen to it, the influences before we played. So for example, there's like a pretty sparse, the pet name for it was Sparse Improv for a while, because we're like, okay, the intention here is to have little sounds and a lot of space. And we listened to Marion Brown's Afternoon of a Georgia Fawn, which the liner notes for that talk a lot about translating like the Georgia landscape to music, but in like a loose, free improv setting. And so that was one of them. That's what it ended up being called the Hermit's Passage on the record. So yeah, stuff like that. And with the collection of people that we had joining us, it was just sort of like, that's all it needed to make some just really cool prompt stuff. Yeah.
Cool. So of the tracks we heard today, you started with the title track, Needle Fall. Can you tell me about that track? What inspired the name? What inspired the feel?
It was a Courtney composition.
Yeah. I was listening to a lot of A Rainbow in Curved Air when I was working on that, but I was living in Georgia and spending a lot of time in a lot of the industrial pine forests down there. And so was really interested in kind of the repeating infinite rows of trees, and heard an old forester that I was taking a class from talk about needle fall, which is when all of those monoculture trees drop their needles at the same time. And so that's kind of where the name came from. But yeah, just working on repeating phrases in different layers and different textures, bringing in different instruments. And so that's one of those that's kind of like sort of composed and sort of improvised. Like we're all changing phrases at undefined times. And
So there's like the intention of we will improvise in this way, but you never know exactly how it's gonna transact.
Cool. Because I don't know, keeping the element of sort of chance and free, go off, do whatever.
Yeah, I mean that's very like, I think our interest in Terry Riley is because like that's his kind of minimalism. Like it is very rhythmic. and phases, but there was never this like script, right? Even like in C, the whole idea is that it progresses like based on how the musicians are feeling. So I think that's always been kind of an interest of ours, like writing this line between composition and improvisation, and like playing with different ways of doing that. And so I think Courtney and I, especially for this record, we're both thinking a lot about Terry Riley for that reason.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so new record out is obviously going to come with new shows. So tell me a little bit more about what shows are coming up and what people can expect to see. The most
important one to mention here is we are playing at the Pinhook on Friday, April 5th, which is 2 Fridays from now. And that's going to be the kind of official album release show.
Sweet.
And we're going to be playing some just trio, but also some with the big band. So that's
nice.
Crow Meat Bob and Andy McLeod is coming down. And hopefully Dan Partridge. He works for Full Frame though, so there's a chance he won't be able to make it. It's the same weekend.
Oh, okay.
So he's gonna hopefully hop over from whatever crazy thing he's gonna be responsible for doing, and just jump in on Saw. So
heck yeah.
We'll be big band for that. And that's the first time we've ever played as a big band.
Wow,
nice. And then Weirs will also be playing that show,
and
they will also be playing as a big band. And I think that's also the first time that they'll be playing as a big band. And then
Sweet.
Nathan Taylor will be playing as Inbath. He's gonna be doing kind of like a abstract analog synth based set.
Ooh, cool.
And then Katie is gonna be doing a set as Magical Body, a DJ set, so they'll be dancing afterwards.
Sweet.
And what I think
it's a packed night.
Yeah. We were kind of, I think the spirit of it is we love the Pinhook, but also I used to work at the Nightlight, and a lot of us, Nathan and Katie, both worked at the Nightlight, and we kind of want to, obviously the Nightlight is not an option right now, so we kind of wanted to bring the spirit of the Nightlight to Durham for this show. So that's Friday, April 5th at the Pinhook.
Sweet.
And it's going to be a really fun time.
When does the music start? Do we know?
Starts at 8.
Yeah.
Stores at 7:30.
Pinhook, April 5th.
You can buy tickets online if you wanted to, or you can buy them at the door.
Sweet.
And then in Athens, we're playing in Athens the night before that, so Thursday, April 4th.
Okay, but we'll call the Durham show the album release.
Yeah, I mean that one will be a fun show too, because we're playing with a lot of old friends that have all released tapes on Garden Portal, which is this experimental folk label that lasted for a few years that Michael Potter ran. So everyone that's on that bill has released something on that tape label, so it'll be kind of a nice little reunion. But that Durham show's very important. We have a few other shows set up, but not in Durham, because Courtney and I are both currently living in Augusta, Georgia. So
how close is Augusta to Athens?
An hour and a half.
Hour and 45. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So after Durham, you're scouting out further afield.
We have a show set up in Columbia like a week after that. That we're playing with Little Mazarin, who's out of Austin, and Lou Turner, who's out of Nashville. So they're going to be on tour, and they reached out to us, so we helped them set up a show in Columbia. And we haven't played in Columbia. Columbia's for context, is like an hour away from Augusta. So
nice.
So we're gonna play in Columbia, and then we also have a show in Atlanta a couple weeks after. Wait, no, that's
the week after.
Okay, yeah, right. We have a.
You need to talk to your manager about this.
Well, that's me. Well, I guess I'm not the manager. I'm the booking guy.
This is the
problem. Yeah, if you're a booking agent and would like to take us on,
please help. Yeah.
We're in shambles here.
Hey, music first, details later.
Yeah, we're playing a house show in Atlanta.
Cool.
The Magic Lantern series, which is kind of an experimental music staple series down there, and then we're hauling out to New Orleans with Michael Potter to support the Electric Nature show out there. So
Nice. Have y'all ever played in New Orleans?
No, never been.
Cool.
The three of us have never been there. So
Yeah, I've driven past it. Never been.
Well, you got to get some beignets.
I've had a lot of beignets.
Okay.
I haven't.
There's a big beignet culture in Houston.
Interesting.
But there's a lot of, that's like, because like New Orleans and Houston have a lot of connections because they're not that far from each other.
They're like
relatively.
Gulf Coast, just like.
But I've just never been. Yeah.
All right. Well, that should be fun. Cool. So we've got Needlefall out now, album release shows. We've got Tunnel Tape some point. Are there any other things you're looking forward to or like excited to get into? Whether that's a specific, album or just like energy you want to be bringing in for the band upcoming?
I guess one thing we're just really excited to be playing as a trio now.
Yeah.
And so we're working on new music as a trio. We might be trialing some of it at upcoming shows.
Ooh.
But yeah, kind of reaching a new level of composition with that, like having Mike as a regular member of Magic Tuber Stringband now. So that's what we're really excited about for this year.
Sweet. Yeah, Mike, what's it been like for you hopping into this established duo and like, finding your footing and yeah, what's it been like?
It's been pretty great. I mean, the process for Needlefall, they had really well recorded demos, so just trying to write parts to support that comes pretty naturally. And then yeah, since then we've had the opportunity to like play and jam, and it sounds good. It's easy to play with those two. They're really talented and fun to be around. So
yeah, y'all are all very talented and pretty fun to be around. I can agree. Cool. Let's see. Do I have any other stupid questions? No, that's awesome. Okay, so April 5th at the Pinhook, 7:30 doors. We'll be there, be square.
Yep.
And you can check out the album Needlefall. It's out right now, presumably everywhere you can find music.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's cool. Our debut on Thrill Jockey, which is a Chicago-based experimental label.
Rad.
And they do pretty serious like distribution, so it should be available in a record store near you or any of the streaming things.
That's awesome. Well, they should find you a manager. Maybe they can do that.
It's the hope.
Awesome. Well, thanks Magic Tuber Stringband for coming on to WXDU, and hope to see you all again sometime.
Yeah, thank you so much for having
me.
us.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.